Success in school is always based on your grades, so why not grade teachers to see if they are passing or failing the students? Dr. Yohuru Williams is from Fairfield University, and we welcome him here to talk about a controversial program in Ohio that does just that. Good to have you.
Good to see you.
All right, so tell me what's going on in Ohio.
Well, beginning last year, Ohio began the process of trying to evaluate their teachers, primarily because they were worried about testing in districts where students were performing subpar. And the idea was to evaluate teachers, to create standards for teachers that would help bring those test scores up.
All right, so this seems to make sense. Why are people upset about it?
For a couple of reasons. Number one, teachers are upset because they argue quite accurately that teaching is only one measure, or tests are only one measure of a student's performance and growth, and so that's problematic. Secondly, they've linked this to three things that are very important to teachers: promotion, the possibility of termination, and then of course merit pay, which of course is going to make people upset.
Interesting that they say, how can you judge, or that testing shouldn't be the only measure of success, when that's exactly what they do to students.
Very true, and part of the reason that teachers are upset about this is they say, look, we've got to look at politicians and administrators who play a role in this as well. Part of the emphasis on testing grew out of this desire of the United States to compete, and presently, U.S. falls behind its foreign counterparts in what we call STEM subjects: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, not to mention reading. And so teachers are feeling tremendous pressure. Administrators are putting pressure on the teachers. The teachers are saying, hey, we need funding, we need better schools, we need better supplies. So all these things factor into how this is going to play out.
I mean, I get it. Some teachers might have some really difficult and challenging students. Therefore, is it fair necessarily to grade them on that? So traditionally, how have teachers been judged?
Well, traditionally, the teacher evaluation comprised of having other teachers come in or an administrator come in and simply observe a classroom. And they would get feedback from that administrator on the class that they taught. Teachers also would do lesson plans, and they would be evaluated by their superiors or supervisors, so on and so forth. That system, while effective, school administrators argue, is problematic because when you have low test scores, what does it matter if another teacher or administrator says, well, you're doing well? The ultimate measure of a teacher is how well the students are doing.
All right, so is there any merit to the claim that measuring teachers' accountability is going to improve student success?
Presently, no, and there's a lot of fear about what would play out with regard to this. A couple of problems that people haven't really considered. Number one, you don't want teachers, as has happened in Florida, teaching to the test.
Well, that's happening with something called the FCAT. We've been reporting on that as well, where teachers teach to a test, specific to the test, yet the students are still failing.
Exactly, and students sometimes can perform very well on that test, but they're not picking up the life skills that will be necessary to go on to compete in college, university, so on and so forth. So you ultimately want a climate that's conducive to student learning that privileges growth of the individual, at the same time preparing students to prepare for those tests.
What is going on with the education system? We have all of these resources, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and we're lagging behind. Our students are failing. What's going on? What's the root?
Well, it's interesting, Laura, for me, because I think it's interesting that we're getting this corporate model that's now being imposed on the schools. And my problem with that, obviously, is that we've watched these tremendous failures in corporate America, and now that model is being imposed on schools. Where's the evaluation for corporate managers, for financial managers, so on and so forth, who are pushing so heavily for teacher accountability, for an end to tenure, so on and so forth? Having said that, teachers want accountability too. Teachers in the education community for many years have been saying, look, we'd like some objective measure of how well we're doing because we care about students. That's why we've gone into this. If we presently pay prison guards more than we pay teachers, we have to expect that there's going to be a lag in the type of people who will be attracted if we continue to put such tremendous stresses on the teachers themselves.
Now, every state is different, and they are coming up against different measures. And in New Jersey, I know the teachers union is a very powerful group, and even some teachers know when there's a poor teacher, it's very difficult to get rid of that teacher. Why is that? Well,
and that's important too. While a lot of states want post-tenure review, and a lot of teachers support that, you don't want bad teachers in the school. You want some way to evaluate teachers and to say if a teacher's not performing. And again, that's not just measured by how well they do on tests. It's also measured in terms of their interpersonal relationship with students, with parents, with administrators, their fellow teachers. You want to be able to hold that person accountable, put them on some type of probation, and ultimately, if they're really bad, get rid of them.
All right, so is there any type of politics playing? You've got a Republican governor there in Ohio, going after teachers, Democrats, similar thing in New Jersey, Republican governor going after the teachers union. How are politics factoring in?
Politics play a huge role in this, but actually not in a way that most people think.
Really?
The Bush administration ushered in what they called No Child Left Behind, which was an initiative to try to raise expectations for teachers and teacher evaluation. The Obama administration came in and created a program called Race to the Top, committed $4.3 billion toward education, and said, what we want to see are initiatives very similar to what we're getting in Ohio. So even though it's a Republican governor that signed this into law, we have to look at the Democratic administration and its educational initiatives that have helped to create this condition as well.
Frustrated teachers, frustrated parents, students are failing. Final thoughts, is there any hope?
I think there's plenty of hope if we look beyond testing as a panacea for this. Now, of course, Ohio's saying only partially is this based on a teacher's grading, but ultimately we've got to get back to the essence of this, and that's the student.
All right, Dr. Yohuru Williams, A+ for your insight.
Great to see you, Laura. Thanks.
We'll have you back then.
Appreciate it.
You made the grade.